Yo, what is up, everyone? Welcome back to this brand new episode of Hockeytown Rundown. You're here with us, your beautiful host once again, Carlo, Zach, and then a brand new member of the podcast who will be joining us at least once a month is Michael Devellano. Michael, welcome back to the show, my friend. How's it going today?
What is popping?
It's summer, guys. Where's all the hockey? Actually, there's been hockey. Just try not watch. All the under 17 stuff was just happening.
Yeah, I gotta get better at watching these under 17s and stuff because like I'm having withdrawals, man. They're setting in.
Well, we have we talked since free agency? I can't remember. I don't think so.
No, the last time
Carter Bear.
Yeah, Carter Bear.
Oh, yeah.
And then free agency was going to be following up a couple days right after that too. So no, we haven't talked about free agency and some of the players that the Red Wings have acquired since then, Michael.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's been no shortage of action on Twitter either.
Boy.
The NHL threw some gasoline on some stuff with their ratings. So that definitely got to address that at some point. And the UFA season was interesting. I guess we all want a home run always, but
facts.
Especially here in Detroit land. That's for sure in Hockeytown here. So let's just go ahead and jump into everything. And before we do that, we want to stop and take a second to say thanks for joining us on this brand new episode once again. If you are viewing or listening to us on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, and then hit that notification bell as well. That lets you know when these brand new episodes come out, as well as our short videos. We're just trying to put out as much content as we can. If you aren't on all of our social medias following us, go ahead and do that. You can find us on Twitter, on X, on TikTok, on Instagram, Facebook, Threads, all of the big social media platforms. If you're also watching or listening on Spotify, you can do that as well. You can also comment on there what you thought about this episode. Let us know down below in the comments. And then we are on Apple Podcasts as well. Rate us 5 stars and then hit that follow button. And before we jump into anything, we first have to announce happy birthday to the magician himself, Pavel Datsyuk, who is a Gold Star member. Michael.
Big claps for Pavs.
Yeah, Gold Star Hockey. That's pretty much how it all kind of got started.
Tell us a little bit about what Pavel Datsyuk meant to the Gold Star agency.
Well, I mean, it was the start, I think, of what Dan Milstein did, right? That was his first guys. Well, first, I don't know if he had prior guys, but I wasn't aware of it. But yeah, that's pretty much the foundation. And then obviously Kucherov, Vasilevsky, now Demidov, you got Zane Perek. Like you go down the line, there's some Sorokin. You know, there's great goalies in there. A lot of obviously roots with Russian players, and now we're trying to build North American, but Datsyuk was the foundation of all that. Like that was, I think it was one agent, one client initially, and then it kind of built from there.
That's amazing. The power of Pavel Datsyuk, eh? What a player.
In his career, in 953 games played, he put up 314 goals, 604 assists for 918 points, and was a plus 249 plus minus player who won multiple Selke awards, a lot of different awards. And then let's talk about his playoff stats too. In 157 games, he put up 42 goals, 71 assists for 113 points for a plus 34, average 19 minutes per game with 424 shots as well. He was just lights out. He was my first love, and he was the first player that I got to meet in person and actually signed a jersey for me back in 2013. Pavel Datsyuk, I don't know if you're watching this. I love you. I always will. You are my favorite player and always will be. He's the man.
You know how many takeaways he had in his career?
I was going to say the takeaway king.
Oh boy.
Do you know how many? I got the number.
How many? 1,000?
1,212.
Okay, so 1,212. Michael, what do you got?
1 year.
Yeah. His total. Zach, you're actually not far off. I think, Michael, you said 1,000, right? Over 1,000. Grand total is 1,134 takeaways, which is absolutely insane. And y'all know the ones that we can think of. I mean, everybody can think of the ones where he's just pickpocketing people, wrapping around the net and scoring. It was just like, I can remember that like it was yesterday.
Who was it that he made look silly and fall on the ice on his birthday? It was the San Jose Shark player.
Oh, Logan Couture.
Poor Logan Couture. He's always like, hey, you guys got to stop posting this. This is making me look bad.
Broke his ankles. Listen to this stat, though. His career takeaways, which was, I guess, a notable season he had, which was 2007, 2008. He recorded 144 takeaways, which was 58 more than the second place player, Mr. Mike Modano. Insane Pavel Datsyuk always, and I mean always, will get his flowers, and we're happy to wish him a very happy birthday. So happy birthday, Pavs.
I just
And
love
just
the two kids and a goat line.
That was the best, eh? That was the best. Yeah.
Watching this story, like the playback of Brett Hull talking about when this guy can go. This guy's pretty good.
Yeah. Maybe this guy can play.
Yeah, I can't even understand a word that he's saying, but he's really good at hockey.
Yeah, I mean.
So back in 1998, when he was drafted 171st overall, 6th round, 26th pick in that draft, who ended up becoming a player who was almost a point per game player in his career, who also ended up getting all these awards, just a few, just to highlight, right? Lady Byng Memorial, 2009, 2008, 2007, Selke, 2010, 2009, 2008. In 2008 as well, he was the NHL Plus Minus Award winner, and then he's a two-time Stanley Cup champion in 2002, 2008.
Phenomenal.
What a career. What an absolute career.
Man, he didn't lost to Pittsburgh in that one.
Yeah, that was brutal.
Damn it.
Yeah. I blame Marian Hossa. It's his fault. He had the curse.
Yep.
But he broke it eventually. Yeah, remember when we had guys like Marian Hossa?
Marian Hossa was so sick on the wings, man. Whew.
Damn it. Yeah. Well, happy birthday, Pavs. A phenomenal player. And we can only hope that he spends all the summer with Attilio Lombardi.
That would be nice. Come on down, Pavs.
Datsyuk, if you're ever in the area as well, let us know. We would love to have you on the podcast.
Please. Yeah, just a little.
Always ask. We got to get our views up, and we'll ask Dan.
There we go.
Dan can come on too. Dan, come on, please.
That'd be cool. Get them both on.
Love to have you on.
Can't not invite them.
Yeah, totally. But happy 21st birthday to Pavel Datsyuk once again for like the 40th time, I believe. I don't even know how old you are turning today, but happy 21st birthday to you. I hope you get a lot of drinks, and I hope you have a lot of fun, and keep showcasing the magic, buddy.
He's 47. He's born in 78.
He can still play. I guarantee it.
Still play.
Oh, yeah. There's our top line winger right there. And let's go ahead and get underway with everything that is in store in this brand new episode. And Michael, you kind of started it off with talking about some of the NHL putting out some posts, talking about some of the U23 players, the U25 players. So let's just start with these ones. The NHL earlier this week put out the league's young stars sure know how to put up the points post, and it was the most career points amongst active players age 23 or younger. Number one is Tim Stützle, or Stützle, however you want to pronounce it. I'm just going to say it both ways. I'm saying it both ways. I'm saying it both ways because I know people pronounce it differently. They're going to call me out, so I'm protecting myself here. Okay?
All right. Smart man.
Tim Stützle, 326 points. Lucas Raymond, 254 points. Seth Jarvis, 213 points. We're just going to name off the top three. And another post for most career goals, same bracket, active players age 23 or younger. Tim Stützle comes in at 115, Lucas Raymond at 98, Seth Jarvis at 96. And then going over to career assists, it's Tim Stützle at 211, Lucas Raymond 156, Seth Jarvis at 117. Now, boys, this is where it gets really confusing because now we're moving over to the top 10 forwards under age 25. I'm just going to name it off. Tim Stützle, number one. Jack Hughes, Matt Boldy, Wyatt Johnson, Cole Caulfield, Connor Bedard, Macklin Celebrini, Matthew Nyes, Seth Jarvis, and Matvei Michkov. Did they just all of a sudden forget about Lucas Raymond? What's going on here?
I don't get that.
That's it's so ridiculous. It certainly ignited like a lot of responses, including yours truly, but it's like, look, you could look at the last 2 years and comfortably say Lucas Raymond has outscored Tim Stützle 2 years in a row. He doesn't play with Brady Tkachuk. He plays with, obviously Larkin's good. He doesn't have the responsibilities of center. He's also not a diving king. So there's a lot of argument there where you could say he's as good or has even maybe surpassed in some ways Tim Stützle. And I love Tim Stützle. The difference in their career points boils down to 40 some odd different games, or that's the difference in how many games they've played. So there's that aspect as well. So I don't know. It's the most bizarre oversight.
That's crazy.
Yeah, going over and talking about some of these other ones too, like the top 10 defensemen under age 25. Number
Oh my-
1 is Jake Sanderson. Number 2 is Brock Faber. Number 3, Moritz Seider, Thomas Harley, Lane Hudson, Luke Hughes, Owen Power, Simon Edvinson, Alexander
Oh, okay.
Nikishin, and then
He's going to be good.
Leon Bischel. But it's good to see that 2 Detroit Red Wings players are at least on this list. But your thoughts on where Moritz Seider and Simon Edvinson rank?
I mean, it's probably right. I watched Jake Sanderson last year. I didn't think he was better than Mo Seider. Like, I think Mo Seider is probably a guy I'd pick over Jake. Jake's a great skater. Did Jake put up the points last year? I don't think so. He is a very good defenseman. He logs a lot of minutes, but
Yeah.
I don't know how you could watch the two. And it's bizarre that you would have both Stützle and Sanderson ahead of Detroit prospects. They made the playoffs. They had Linus Ullmark.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that shows you the difference, a top tier goalie. I mean, this guy won the Vezina Trophy.
Yep. And when he's on, that
Holy.
guy is on. Holy.
Also former Buffalo Sabre.
Ullmark came from the Buffalo? No way.
Yep.
Oh my God.
When Ullmark was in Buffalo, I was like, oh my God, they got a great goalie. And then he was like left. And I was like, oh man. And then all of a sudden I don't think anybody knew who the hell he was. And I remember watching him in Buffalo and I'm like, okay, this guy's really good.
Yeah. What are you doing out here?
Buffalo is just a place where players' careers go to die, man.
They don't even start. The careers don't even start, and they ship them off.
JJ Paterka. What the?
Yep.
My goodness.
Anyway, so I think Mo, obviously you could go for a taste. At least Mo was on the list.
There's one other list I want to fire over to that I found very interesting, and it was on the goalies. Top 10 goalies under the age 25.
No Costa.
No Costa, but Trey Augustine's there.
No sense.
Right? And listen, Augustine's unreal, and there's definitely some horsepower behind that name, but you leave out Costa?
Like, he's played in the NCAA. What happened when he went international? And what happened when he played the best on best? You know he needs time.
Yeah.
He's not a pro. He's not going to step into the NHL. He's going to have to go to the path of getting his AHL minutes. Like, he's so far away if you look at that. To go back to NCAA I was surprised. But there, you know what the deal is now. It's semi-pro. They're paying guys, so he's probably got a good package, and he's a star there. But he's not going to get better playing NCAA.
Yeah,
like that's just, you've done it, right? Like his numbers are stupid there. He needs to get to the AHL, in my opinion. But that's the same as Jacob Fowler. I don't think we're going to find out, And he does play all the games. But come on, Costa's already paid his dues, and then they had a Wallstedt ahead of Costa.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that confuses me about this list too is that it's not only that Costa is not on this list, but you have Trey Augustine ahead of a couple players that have already seen some NHL action, like Wallstedt and then Devin Levi. It makes sense why Dustin Wolf's up there, Spencer Knight, Askarov as well, but yeah, Jacob Fowler, he's only played in the AHL. That's his projection going forward, is playing full-time there. He got a couple games stint this past season.
Yeah.
This list to me is a lot of hopes and dreams here and projecting. A lot of projecting.
Who's played in the NHL?
No idea.
21. So like he's ahead of Costa right now. I get that because and he went on an insane heater for Columbus. Like he was like pushing to get them in the playoffs in 10 games. So you look at his numbers, he was sub 2 goals against in the NHL. So we're like, whoa, wait, who's this guy? So I have to admit, like, I didn't realize he was that far into his career. How do you put Trey Augustine in the same breath?
It seems like that they just made the list based off of projections, the hopes and dreams, like I mentioned earlier. Very confusing list there. But you got a mix of some players that played in the NHL, some that haven't even made it and sniffed the AHL. So it's a very confusing list, to say the least. But let's go and talk about this top 23 players under age 23. And I think that they did a disservice to Marco Kasper based on what he did for the team last season. So talking about the players on this list, you got Bedard, Celebrini, Hudson, Wyatt Johnson, Mitchkov, Fantilli, Nyes, Cooley, Hughes, Slafkovsky, Carlson, Gunther. Is there anyone on this list that you would have replaced to insert a Marco Kasper, Michael?
How low was Gunther?
12.
And did they put him again behind Slafkovsky?
They did. Who was number 10?
Dylan Gunther goes to top 4. Dylan Gunther is a first-line winger that's got
I really like him. Yeah.
look at this is the thing. So it's like, not to get away from Detroit stuff, but if you look at Gunther, he had a 27 goal season with 60 points in 70 games. So, and then before that, he had 35 points in 45 games. And then
I think this just goes to show you that these lists are out to lunch. There we go.
Better than Slavkovsky. There's definitely some holes in that armor. Kasper had 37 points in 46 games when Todd McClellan came over.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think, for all of us, that was eye-opening. He had a good motor. His skill level's way higher, and he produced. So, I mean, maybe it's just a small sample size. And maybe that's the issue, but...
Could be. Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair point.
He's definitely got to be in that mix in the top 12 or 15, I would think. And I don't know. I think you see what Slav is. Like, he's big, and he's got some gumption, and he's probably a winger. He's not going to be a centerman like they hoped, which is probably fine because he's just not creative. He can shoot, but getting that shot off, I just don't know. Maybe eventually he gets a big goal season, but I don't know. Gunther's got to be higher in that list, and then Kasper's got to be in there somewhere. But there's some pretty esteemed names in there. Fantilli's
sure.
Where was Fantilli? He was like 7th or something?
Fantilli?
6th. Yeah, for whatever. I mean, the guy just had a 31-goal season.
It's not good enough. It's not 40. You're 19 years old and you're not putting up 40 goals? You're not good. You're trash.
No list for you.
God.
Nope.
Well, how is Fantilli 21 now?
He's a little bit older than 19. I don't know why I said 19. I just assumed that he was. But yeah, he's closer to 20.
Yeah, he's a 2004 October birthday.
04? Yeah.
Michael, the last time that we actually spoke, we didn't hit free agency yet. So we're right around that cupboard of, or that date of the NHL free agency opening up. It was right after the draft. And we talked about newly drafted 13th overall selection, Carter Bear. So thank you once again for joining us on that episode. If you guys haven't caught that episode yet, go ahead and watch that. Michael breaks down Carter Bear really well, what he brings and what he can bring to the Detroit Red Wings in the future in his tenure as a Detroit Red Wing. Let's talk about some of the free agent acquisitions and then talking about as well as some of the signings that we've seen in the NHL and how that's going to fit with some of the players, especially the RFA players, these younger players that we have. But let's touch on the free agent players a little bit and let's talk about James Van Riemsdyk, the 36-year-old left winger who comes in at $1 million. Your initial thoughts on that deal real quick, Michael.
Drafted the same draft as Patrick Kane.
Yep.
That's crazy.
They're reunited.
Was Kyle Turris in that draft? Is that how old that is?
2007 draft. So yeah, Kyle Turris went 3rd. You're right.
That's crazy. Yeah, he's old. I'd rather see young guys, but he's trying to bridge the gap here. But I don't know. He might be able to help. Like maybe he's a 12, 15 goal guy. Like this reminds me of what was the guys that we had? Bobby Ryan, right? And I thought Bobby Ryan did really well. Like he's got some size. He's got good hands. Elder statesman. He can still contribute. He's not perfect. He's a good fit on the third line with 14 minutes a game. Great. I saw someone putting up lines and they had like Andrew Kopp filling in the second line center role and putting Kasper on the first. I'm like, these are guys that should never fit and they should never surpass the top 9 on any NHL team ever again if you want to make the playoffs.
Yeah, that's the key word.
And that was us. That's what we were doing too. I mean, on one of our past episodes, we put Marco Kasper on the top left wing and we put Kopp as the 2C because we figured Marco Kasper being up there. But we would be okay, and we said this too, that it is all interchangeable. I would be perfectly okay with Marco Kasper being the 2C. And I've seen a lot of different scenarios where you're putting Kasper as the 2C, and then you can put Soderblom up there on the top left wing. And then
it's like JT Comfort is, this was the issue in Colorado, right? Like you can't have him every day as a second line center. Definitely not a first when you saw what happens with that.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't fit on the third. Like he doesn't do things you want on the third. So I don't know. I think they just got to bite the bullet.
Yeah. That's all they can do.
Kopp should never play top 6 minutes unless everybody's hurt. Like that's just, it can't happen. No offense to him, but at some point you've got to push these guys through. Other teams are playing their young stars. And you got to bite the bullet at some point here and do it. And I think you'll be rewarded with it. Like And the same thing goes, like we're signing a guy that's drafted. Okay, I get Patrick Kane. Maybe JVR is in this. Like if they make the playoffs, it's like they can have the all 2007 draft year celebration. I'd rather see a guy who's born in 2007 playing on the team than this.
Agreed.
I mean, listen, I love Kane. Kane, Showtime's got to be there. That was a great, bring back. That'll be his third year with the team. That's awesome.
Yep.
Retire a Red Wing, and hopefully they make the playoffs with them. But JVR, I don't see moving the needle here. I mean, I don't see how this is gonna help. Maybe it's an elder statesman in there. I would have rather had Perron, Perron. You could see the loss of Perron and what he brings.
Totally.
Like,
Who also was a 2007 draftee,
right?
By the
Isn't
way,
that crazy? But you've got to say, like,
something about that year.
If you're going to go that deep, that was probably a money issue at the time. So I guess
this is a player you said this guy could come in, probably put up 12 goals for you, maybe around 15. In his past 2 seasons, it was 11 in Boston. And this past season, it was 16 with Columbus, 36 and 38 points between the 2 seasons.
So I think I underestimate. I didn't realize he had 16 goals. I don't know why I thought he had another 11 or 12 goal season. So I think that's really encouraging because that's what you want. You need your third line to get 45, 50 goals as a group. And that's what they lost when they lost Perron. So actually, maybe that's smart. And if you watch him, he's a rangy guy. He's got really good skill, underrated skill. He's probably like 6'2", 6'3". And he's making fun of the fact that he's drafted in the year of guys getting drafted, birth year.
Yeah.
This year. But those are good numbers. Like if he can do that, let's take a look at his numbers as far as minutes.
I have a couple numbers for you actually ready to go. So listen to this. Last year, 13 of his 16 goals and 32 of his 36 points were 5-on-5, which I thought was actually like, whoa.
That's what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. You need that. And that's great then. That's exactly what you need. And that's why you signed him. All jokes aside, he's always shown he can score. He's got good hands. He's a big guy. He doesn't get 20 minutes a game to do it, right? So he's not wasting cycles. He's usually like a 14, 15-minute guy, isn't he? Wow, he averaged 12 minutes and 24 seconds a game, guys. So this is your answer. The 5-on-5 and the 12-26. Like I always thought him as a 14, 15-minute guy. Perfect. So yeah.
He's taking advantage of his time really, really well.
Yeah.
Right? So he's pretty effective.
You see the logic there of that's what they need to fix. The difference between them getting the playoffs or not probably is that third line last year. Because the prior year, they lost like 75 goals, right? They lost Sprong, they lost Perron, they lost Ghost. Well, there's one other guy that
Sprong, Perron, Ghost, and
missing one other guy. Between them, they had 45-ish goals. I think it was 17, 18. I'm missing someone.
Yeah, it was in the 40s for sure. I remember that.
Yeah, so that was really the difference last year, and part of that was trying to see what Berggren could bring, I guess. But I don't feel like they really gave him. You know what Berggren's issue is? Like actually, Berggren, could play on that top line. Like I really believe
looking at that.
He's not a good third, fourth line player. I knew that was kind of their game plan to try and play him there, but he's just not going to do it. But he's really smart and creative. Maybe that's the guy, right?
He's just small. That top line becomes
small. He's so tiny.
Like that top line's small, man. You got to be real crafty to get by.
He is very smart.
No, for sure.
That's the issue. Like you really want more horsepower up there. But yeah, so going back to that, okay, there's your answer, right? Fabry. That was the other one. So Fabs. So that was really the difference, I think, was they kind of bit the bullet and they're trying to push young guys in. We saw Soderblom come up. We saw Berggren. So it's interesting they go back. They put JVR in there. If he can get 14, 15, 16 goals in that limited ice time, you're not chewing up like power play time. He's doing it 5-on-5. That's huge. That's such a big difference.
Imagine if he does get some significant, PP time. Because last year he only had 56 power play minutes.
Has he ever been a PP guy though?
Well, listen, I said it a couple weeks ago. He reminds me of a better version of Alex Chiasson when Stevie brought him in for that little project or science experiment. Now you have JVR, big body, hard on the puck, a little more crafty, I would say, than Alex Chiasson. You put him on the power play on the second unit, and you give him a significant role there, more of a steady role. Granted, he can hang. He could probably see more than 36 points for the Wings, which would be a steal for us considering the price.
Up on that left wing on the top line once in a while.
I'm sure he'll get looks up there, man. I'm sure he will. I don't think it's going to be a steady thing, but we all want a home run. This is actually a really smart move by Yzerman. Like, he's looking beyond certain things. He doesn't pay a lot of money. It's not a lot of turn. The guy's got the right number to plug in. That makes a difference. So kudos to him. This is a smart. Yeah. It's no risk. Zero risk with it. Yeah. And to be honest with you, I think that
and we got the whole team together.
Yeah. I think the band is back together. But I really think that top line left wing is going to be picked before the game, every single game. And they're going to go into it matchup based, because one thing McClellan said when he came in is he didn't look at lines as groups of three. He looked at it as pairs, right? Which I think most coaches probably do.
Yeah. He did that in LA too, I think.
Yeah. So I feel like that they're going to stream the top line left wing like we all stream kickers in fantasy football. And that's just the way it's going to be. That's just the way it's going to go into it.
And then the other piece was Mason Appleton, right? And Mason Appleton, another guy that plugs right into that third line, reuniting, 2/3 of the Kopp, Lowry, Appleton line from Winnipeg.
Yeah.
He's a guy that's got some size and speed. He can play a 200-foot game, and he can get you 10, 12 goals, I think.
Yeah, thanks for bringing him up too, because, this is a guy who I actually do believe can be a little bit better than Michael Rasmussen, just in terms of his size. Not the biggest guy. He's a little bit smaller than Michael Rasmussen, but this past season with the Winnipeg Jets, he put up 76 hits. I think that can actually increase based on what we saw in his highlight videos. There's really not too many of them if you try and going to look for him, but it was what we could do on the sample size that we had to see what kind of game he would bring in. He looks like someone who's really tough to get off the puck, especially along the boards, along the half wall, and especially behind the net, and someone who can actually dish the puck. Granted, he really didn't put up too many points. It was only 22, 10 goals, 12 assists, but this is another bottom six guy that you can insert for a low risk, somewhat high reward. Michael, would you agree with that?
Yeah, he's a veteran guy. He's got pretty good speed. I think he's probably a little quicker than you're going to see it as Rasmussen. He's still 6'2", so he's got size and he's hard on the puck. And I think did he have 14 goals the year before?
Yep.
So I think he, if you can get 14 goals or out of him, and you get 14 goals out of Van Riemsdyk, and then Andrew Kopp's in there, and if you can get 12 to 14 goals, that's what you need on that third line. And that's the way it should be. And then you figure out you should not touch the top six unless you're a 25 goal guy in this team, right? So, and that's kind of the voodoo math that I think in my head, which is, all right, I need 75, that's 150. I get 45 goals, that's 195. And then I got to get 35, 40 goals from the D. And then, the bottom, you probably get 15, 20 goals from the fourth line. Mm-hmm. They need 240, 280 goals in that range to even touch the playoffs.
Yeah.
So that's what you got to kind of build, is that you got to at least have the infrastructure there to get those numbers. And that's perfect. Mason Appleton's perfect. If you have Kopp, Appleton, and Van Riemsdyk, problem is there's no young guys. So you don't have Soderblom in that mix, but they can flex down and play fourth line. For a lot of the time, I think the Lowry line was kind of third, fourth line. So they would play fourth line minutes sometimes. Lowry, now you see what he is. He's the captain in Winnipeg, I think, right?
I honestly don't know. I think he might be, though.
He is, yeah. He's the captain.
That sounds right.
Yeah. So
Kopp, Appleton and paired up on the third.
Yeah. With
I think Kopp with JVR, but to your point, I think you're going to see it's always back to that top line left wing. You're going to see JVR playing third line probably majority of the time, and you might see him bump up and swap out with Elmer Soderblom, because I think they have Soderblom listed or slotted at least into that third line as well, which is probably where he should be. So they might be flipping Elmer and JVR around quite a bit. But no, I think
Elmer play top six consistently, if at all.
Who's that? JVR?
Soderblom, JVR either. Like I don't think he's gonna be exposed for other parts of his game that you don't love up there, and he seems to, but he's carved out as a great third line guy in 5-on-5, so that's great. Yeah, so I think to your point, like you're not that far from having the perfect scaffolding anyway.
I agree. Because these other guys are taking steps too. You're going to see more goals coming from these other kids as well to get us to that.
I mean,
that
Casper, maybe
land.
he regresses. You don't know. Like he could fall back a little bit in his second year. You're looking to next year. Is this a 30-goal guy? And that's I don't see why he couldn't do that now. Like he's got the motor, he's got the skill.
Yeah.
You saw him working out in the summer on skill-based stuff. So you go, okay, well, great. But what's not in there is room for Nate Danielson anywhere, which is not good.
I mean, so it's like my thing is, you got Rasmussen on the wing, and so here's a question. Would you rather play Danielson on the fourth line wing, or would you rather him play in the AHL with Grand Rapids?
He's going to go AHL.
Right? They got to move some guys out in order to get him up, given that he's ready.
Force his way in, right? He's going to have to show. I think he's got the wheels. He could play with those guys. What you don't want to Joe Veleno him. You don't want to bury him. I think he's got, he's going to do what you want, right? And maybe more. It's like if you're a coach and you're saying, yeah, do this, he's going to do it. But ideally, you want him to have whatever his maximum offensive upside is. You want to reveal that real quick, I think. I think you don't want to lock him into a bottom 9, bottom 12 role.
Yeah.
Your goal is that this guy's your 2C, play him 2C. It's like put Casper up on if that's your choice, like if it's me, I'm like, roll the dice. You've got every other piece there. He's not going to hurt you. Let's see him at 2C. Let's see what happens. Put him with Kane and DeBrincat. It's going to work.
So let me ask you this then, Michael, from that perspective, because we would agree that we wouldn't want to put Nate Danielson in a 4C position or even on the wing, right? We would prefer to start him out as a center because we believe, much like with Marco Casper, they drafted both of them to be centers of the future for them. We talked about that too before we started recording. So what would you do with a JT Compher? It's no secret that he is the least favorable center on the Detroit Red Wings right now in terms of overall play and just fan favorite, right? So how comfortable do you feel putting someone who's making as much money as Compher is, playing him as a 4C?
He's not going to do the job. I mean, it's just not going to work. They really like him. Like I remember, like Jay Verde went to Philadelphia as an assistant, but Jay, I remember in the summer was saying like, "Oh, he's a pro." Right? You would say he's a pro, and that he does the right things off the ice. He prepares. He shows up every game. So I don't think that's an issue with him. But you can see just matchup wise and game in, game out, there's something missing there. Like he's not as big maybe as other guys. Like he's probably 5'10", 5'10 and a half, and he's good speed, but he's not like awesome speed, and he doesn't always have the motor. Like you see the difference between a young guy like Casper and him.
Yeah.
The motor and the consistency, that's a big difference. So I don't see him being able to have any success on the fourth line. He kind of struggles with third line, right? Yeah. And you want production out of him for him to stay in there. So I don't know.
You then make the argument, though, that the reason why it didn't work out for him at the 3C spot is because we had him paired up with players like Tarasenko, who clearly didn't work out. We had to move him for nothing, future considerations. And then who was it? It was Michael Rasmussen, and maybe Andrew Kopp would swing in there, whoever they would put on the third line wing along with them. So can you at least give him the benefit of the doubt that he hasn't really had the greatest wingers to play with?
I mean, you got to drive the line though. Centerman, right?
If you're taking up, they move him to the wing because he can't drive play or run pucks through him consistently as a center, and he's not going to be ideal 200 feet. So it's not that he doesn't try, just he's not necessarily winning those battles, I think. And he at some point you think of, how do I move him and get value out of him? Like, can I play him on the second line, get him some numbers, and then move him? Maybe that's the answer, right? But then you get tricked and you go, oh, he's got good numbers and he's on the second, because he can get 15 to 20 goals and he can get 45, 55 points in his ideal state, right? Somehow you've got to upgrade that spot. And I feel like,
yeah, you do.
They like him. I think he's good in the room, and I think he works hard off the ice. I think that's where you try to upgrade.
Yeah. Quick question
if
for
you
you,
can,
and then we're going to move on to the next free agent player that the Red Wings signed,
yeah,
and that will be the last free agent player that we touch on. For JT Compher right now, if the Red Wings were interested in moving him, what value do you believe JT Compher has?
I think that's the problem. Like, there's no secrets out there, right? Like, where is he going to fit is really tough on a lot of teams.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to think that this is going to solve their second line center problem. I'd be shocked. Maybe he goes to a Boston or something like that, and maybe he does real well, right? Like, they moved out Charlie Coyle out of there. He's not Charlie Coyle. Like, Charlie Coyle is a big body guy, right? And can play that third line role, is not always consistently ideal on the second. So maybe he goes to somewhere like that. I just don't like, what are you getting back? Are you doing it just to move it out? Like, he probably has more value in Detroit as a utility guy and gives the coach flexibility right now. The only way I think that you can move him out is you'd have to package him with a draft pick or a prospect, and then you get a better piece. And that's what you want. Like, can I get a guy that's a little better? But you always see him as part of a package.
Yeah,
I don't
think so
see
too.
him one for one solving anything. There's always got to be a sweetener in there to do something.
No, would agree with you,
And
because
he's got,
right now, I mean, you look at his contract, you have him for 3 more years at $5.1 million, I believe it is. Check on me on that real quick. I could be wrong on this.
2 more years after this season. Well, if you're including this season, it's 3.
Yeah, including this season. So 3 years at $5.1 million. We just saw, once again, Vladimir Tarasenko get moved at his 4.75 with 1 year left for future consideration. So to your point, yeah, you absolutely would have to package something up, even though he does play a premium center role in the NHL. But like you're saying, most teams would probably utilize him as a 3C. So, and you can go find those anywhere for much cheaper. You can look at free agents and you can go ahead and get a Jack Roslovic to play as your 3C, who almost put up 40 points this season. And that's more than what JT Compher put up this season.
Yeah.
So I would agree with you that you would have to package up Comfort, and it has to be a team who's dwindling down, trying to go into that rebuild situation that just needs bodies and the cap hit.
Yeah.
That feels like the answer. You're not going to get like a top guy from, and he had 48 points the prior year. So if he could actually get that consistently, then maybe that's great. Okay. But to your point, he's not driving. I don't feel like he drives play on a line. I don't feel like he's the guy that makes other guys around him better. I feel like he can play with other guys that do that.
Yeah.
And maybe that is okay, fit with Kane and DeBrincat, but those guys you can see play another level compared to him.
That's a completely different level.
That's just not a fit. You need someone that can keep up with them and either do the things they don't do, which is why I say, well, try. You see when Casper's in there, like Casper can hang, right? Yeah. He'll go in the corners. He'll be the first guy in the puck. He's able to distribute it to them. And you're like, whoa, okay, this guy can play with them. Can Nate Danielson be that? And I think that at some point you got to bite the bullet on that. He's 2004, right? I think Danielson's a 04. So you got to like work him in here and see what he can do.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's what a lot of Red Wings fans would say too. So I got a follow-up question for you about that actually as we move along into this episode. So let's talk about Jacob Bernard-Docker, who is the newly signed right-handed defenseman that will be on the third pair. Comes in at 6 foot, 190 pounds, so not exactly the biggest player, especially looking at some of Yzerman's picks on the back end. They're really big guys, right? So this is a guy who barely comes in at 6 foot. However, this is a guy. You look at his 23-24 season stats, he led the Ottawa Senators with 176 block shots in 72 games. Oh, wow. If you were to put him on the Detroit Red Wings roster now, and if you included those block shots, he would be second on the team behind Moritz Seider, between him and Simon Edvinsson. Moritz Seider had 181, Simon Edvinsson had 144 block shots, Ben Sherrod 142. That would help us out so much, not only on 5-on-5, on the PK, and allow less goals into the net. But what's your overall thought on a JBD? Because my hot take on the radio last week, Michael, if you guys didn't catch us on the radio, you guys can go ahead and find that online. That's on jethro.fm. You can find it over on Ryan Walsh as well. I might actually include that into the description of this episode.
Sports Intel with Ryan Walsh. Great guys.
Yep. So, yeah, Michael, my hot take was that I actually can see JBD bump up into that second pair if he can go back to what he did in Ottawa in 23-24, but obviously improve at that because he's still such a young guy. And I do believe that there is a ceiling that we just have not seen of his overall play. And this is a guy who was a first round draft pick back in 2018. But your overall thoughts on a Jacob Bernard Docker, Michael?
The offense we thought has never materialized either at the AHL or the NHL. Looks like he should be an offensive defenseman. You were projecting him as running a second power play. It's just never, ever been there. And if we go back and you look at the history of him, you go, not consistent numbers at the AHL, not consistent numbers at the NHL. And that's pretty much what it boils down to. And if you really look at his NCAA numbers and even Team Canada numbers, you're like, what, maybe that was just reality, because it's not like his numbers were phenomenal in either of those scenarios. So, but you saw him with Team Canada and you go, man, he could be a really good defenseman because he looks like athletically, like he has all the package, but the production just is not there. So then you go, can he play a 5-6 role consistently? And it's tough to project that on him. Like, he's not getting big numbers in Buffalo or Ottawa. So, I think maybe the writing's just on the wall with him of what he is. He's going to have to really carve out that 5-6 type role and stay in the lineup consistently. He's going to have to be really consistent defensively. But you look at the way he plays, and it's like he's one of these guys that is an offensive defenseman that gets no offense. We already have a guy like that named Ben Sherratt.
And Eric Gustafson.
Yeah, and Gus could, theoretically get big numbers, right?
Yeah.
But so that's quickly here, JBD. This is very wishful thinking, but everything you just said reminds me of Jake Wallman when he was in St. Louis.
Wallman, though, could produce, though.
He really didn't produce much, though, until he came to Detroit, and then he just kind of popped. Like, maybe. I'm talking a big pop.
And I think that's your hope, is that this is just like, oh, he hasn't had the opportunity, he hasn't had the ice time.
Right.
But, I think I would project Albert Johansson ahead of him, because
100%.
Albert's like, which is your problem, right? Because even Albert might be a 4-5, right? You're like, can he produce offensively enough in the top 4? He's not going to hurt you. He's a really good skater, but he's better, I think, defensively than Bernard Docker, right?
Hey, don't disrespect Albert Johansson, who was placed in the top 50 goals of the NHL this past season with that sick goal against the Vegas Golden Knights, Michael. Crazy. Come on now.
That goal was nasty.
But again, look at their production, and you would say he's going to produce more than Bernard Docker, but he's not going to produce ideal numbers.
Yeah.
He might be a 20-point guy, 24-point guy, right? And that would be fine. But JBR may not do that.
That's okay. I don't really expect him to come in and put up a lot of points, but I look at the block shots and I just think about what he can do for the defensive side of the game. And that's what we need, right? Like I said, the 5-on-5 and the PK, if he can come in and assist with that, that's gravy for us. And that contract that comes into the 1 year at $175,000.
You can't. How can you hate that? You can't. You just can't.
So you hope that he's going to carve that out. You're still contending with ice time with Sherratt. They kept Hall, which is interesting. A little surprised at that, but Hey,
everybody needs a good 7D man, right?
And you brought that up too, Michael, that he is tiptoeing around that 5 in the 6 range, and that he would have to beat someone out, and that beating someone out would be Justin Hall, unfortunately. And we could say that's going to be it should be easy for him to beat out a player like that, because we'll have to wait and see, because we know that coaches and even general managers, they value the veteran leadership that some of these players can bring, and just their 10 years in the NHL, the experience that they bring, right? But
I'm going to say something really weird, but Hall might be better offensively than Bernard Docker at this point.
Jeez, I hope not. Don't put that bad juju on us, Michael. But in your mind, who would be the next player up? Will it be William Wallander, who we saw get a call up, but we didn't get to see any NHL action? Could it be Shai Booyam? Because those are the next up in terms of the Red Wings prospects on the left-handed D side, or just on the defensive side. Or do we see a case where ASP makes that jump before Wallander or Booyam?
I mean, I think he's going to get his apprenticeship. Maybe he rocks the AHL offensively, and they go, man, we need this, right? We need him on the PP. So that would be the ASP story. Wallander is going to be a 5, 6, 7, no matter what, I think. I don't see him playing top 4. He's another guy. He's big. He's got pretty good wheels. Maybe not snap on the puck, but he's not going to, I don't project him as being top 4 offensively. There's one other guy though, Tuomisto.
Tuomisto,
So
24.
maybe we're sleeping on him. And then you mentioned, Shai Buyam. Again, 6'3", can skate, got some good offensive tools. Give him some time and see. I'm just not sure. It's really hard to tell because none of these guys is ripping up the AHL. They're playing, but they're good, right? Neither was maybe Albert Johansson. So maybe these guys flex up and you got really cheap options that can fill in some of those roles and take ice time. And maybe that's what he's competing against. Is Bernard Docker, he's got NHL minutes, but is he going to be better than Wallander? I don't know. You got to start playing Wallander to find out. Same Tuomisto might be better than all.
Overall, and I like how you're forcing me to ask this question. Overall, based on what Yzerman did, bringing in the JVRs, the Mason Appletons, and then the JBDs, and then you're talking about how we got to see what some of these kids can do. And it goes back to a question that I kind of asked earlier. Do you kind of believe that Yzerman went out and got these players on the 1 and 2 year deals, and in case of injury, that then gives you room to add some of these players and see how they look and then force a trade, whether that's in season or going into the off season next year?
For sure. Like he filled in the holes that were created last year when all those guys left, like Fabs and Perron and Sprung. That production was real. They didn't like him, necessarily, and you see he's struggled to stick since, but he got 17, 18 goals. Yep. So I think he's replaced that production with guys that he can rely on in the third line. If someone gets hurt, to your point, or someone's playing really well, you can flex up these young guys. I worry about not making room for Soderblom or trying to just take it away from him automatically. So that's kind of a concern. Berggren, I think just the writing's on the wall there. He's got to play top 6 or he's not useful.
Yep.
And I just don't know if they trust him to do that. And then same thing with Comfer, right? Like Comfer's got some imperfections. I feel like we're back where we were 2 years ago, with the exception that Kasper's broken in and Edvinsson's broken in. And Johansson. What's the difference? Gibson.
Yep.
So your X factor now is, okay, we got Cam Talbot and Gibson as your 1 and 2. Probably the best goaltending the team's had since
a long time.
Koshik?
Say it. Thank you.
I mean, people will say Jimmy Howard. Jimmy Howard was the king of letting the other team back in the game.
Yeah. Love Howie, but no, you're banging.
I would never, not personally, but as a goalie, it was always like, no, there's something not here, But I don't know. That's where your opportunity is. You see what Ullmark did in Ottawa, and you hope that that's what happened. And you saw Ottawa with and without Ullmark when he was hurt.
Yep.
And I think difference. You're gonna have to manage his load of ice time. That's where your opportunity maybe is to improve, right? And you hope that Kasper doesn't backtrack. And then can you find that final piece? And that final piece is that number 1 left wing spot. Can you take advantage of someone having or wanting to move someone?
Can you take advantage of Winnipeg and Kyle Connor? How we doing?
What do you think is most likely to happen, Michael? Because we talked about this last episode too. Do you think it's most likely, and a lot of Red Wings fans are actually itching to know because they still think that there is something in the works with Steve Yzerman this offseason. Do you think it's more likely for Steve to make a trade this offseason or in the middle of this season? And when I say in the middle, it could be at the start, it could be November, December, really anywhere in the middle of the season. Your take on that?
I mean, I guess my gut tells me that is more than likely the issue. Or when it happens. I think we're probably done for a little while, but maybe not. Is Mason McTavish really in play out there? I mean, I hope not. I hope he's smart enough to just go back and sign in Anaheim. Might be more negotiating tactics than anything. That's the type of guy you need. They need a McTavish type guy to come in and make it clear. Okay, well, he's second line center and Kasper's first left wing. Or they need to find that's what they need.
That's a solid top 6 though, boys. Like that's a really solid top 6.
But then what do you have to give up to get him? Then maybe that's where you go take Nick Danielson, because that's what you want. But then you go, well, what's the difference between McTavish and Danielson? It's been time
NHL
reps. They put him in and they ate a few years, and man, that worked out. I mean, he got 50 some odd points last year. And that's what you project. Because I go, when you saw McTavish in the World Juniors, it was like, whoa.
Yeah.
You saw him in the Holinka, you're like, oh, man, this guy's really good, is everybody else seeing this? That's what I was like. Is everybody else seeing this? And then I think when he went third overall, people were like, what? I'm like, did you watch him? He's so good.
I wonder if
he's truly what's the difference between him and Nate Danielson?
NHL reps.
Just the fact that we actually know I would say the difference would be that we know somewhat of what we're going to get out of a Mason McTavish in the NHL versus a Nate Danielson because we haven't seen him there yet. Yeah. That's pretty much the only difference that I would account for right now.
Yeah, and if you watched Nate last year, he struggled a little early to get goals. Like he was getting more assists, but he ended up with pretty good numbers in the AHL. And he took big face-offs. Like I started watching a lot of those Grand Rapids games, which I don't traditionally do. And you can see like they can rely on him. He's a big body. He's got wheels. And you go, well, he's maybe a little bit bigger than McTavish. He's as good of a skater. He has a similar character profile. And maybe you just got to give him opportunity. Let him play. Let the kids play.
Yeah, literally.
And I think that's what you do. I think he's the type of guy where you go, Nate, I want you to be this. And you go, okay. That's the type of kid he is.
Yeah, no, for sure. Let's shift focus over to, speaking of younger players, let's talk about Simon Edvinsson, who will be a RFA next season. So a contract extension is due pretty soon. So a lot of fans are wondering, when is that going to come about? It's no secret that Steve Yzerman, we saw it with Moritz Seider and Lucas Raymond. He did it when those seasons came about, when they needed to be re-signed, not ahead of time, a year prior or anything. Talking about Simon Edvinsson, Bowen Byram, who was a player that a lot of Red Wings fans wanted to see us go out and trade for to solidify that top 4 spot within the defense. Bowen Byram signed a 2-year, $6.25 million contract. Is this somewhat comparable to what we can see on a bridge deal to Simon Edvinsson? And would you even offer Simon Edvinsson a bridge deal?
I think the difference, if I'm not mistaken, is you could do 2 years with Simon and then he's still RFA, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
So that's maybe, or you just lock them up at 7-7 or something. Because I think they're taking a year off. Is it next year that kicks in when they're no longer 8-year contracts?
Correct.
I could see him going 7-7, 7-7-5, because he projects as a top 2 D. He's a left shot, so he fills that hole. He's a great skater, and he's got some offense, right? And he's mean. He's actually kind of mean. Like he uses.
Yeah, he's got a bite to him for sure.
But that might be cheap. Like I think Bo's contract was cheap because he gets to go to UFA. And he probably wanted to just get the heck out of Dodge. It kind of sounded like that. He wants to be the guy, and he's capable, I feel. Like he's got all the tools you would want. So yeah, I don't know. I think Edvinsson, ideally you're locking him up as long as you can. I just think you don't project him backtracking. He hasn't shown that he's going to fluctuate. Like he's very consistent. He's got offensive tools. He's a giant.
So yeah, I would agree. Lock him up.
Yeah, he might end up 7. He might be closer to 8. You never know. It just depends on what you see this year. But I guess the question is, what's his offensive ceiling? If his offensive ceiling is 40 points, then he's going to be, on the south side of Seider, who's kind of 45, 50 points, right? Then you go, well, what's ASP? Somewhere they need a big time offensive D man,
yeah,
which is just a reality, which you would project as ASP. So
we hope
that's probably 2 years out. But although, again, look at Montreal throws in Lane Hudson and their whole fortunes change, right? So
yep,
there's some riverboat.
It's going to be a very expensive blue line in Montreal.
I guess so. But I mean, the cap is just going through the friggin' roof, right?
It is. It is.
And that's what a lot of these, yeah, you would know. I mean, a lot of these players in these agents, in these agencies, they understand that, right? They're not schmucks in that regard. They see it going up by, let's just call it $5 million this year. Then the following season, we could see it jump up to 7. In 2 to 3 years from now, there could be potential where we see the cap jumping up as high as $10 million per year. I didn't see that anywhere. That's just me kind of calling it out, that I believe that it could get up to that point where we're seeing that much increase.
You're also going to see a lot of agents retiring because they're going to be getting paid.
I must have went to Gold Star at the right time, so help them out. Get some young guys. It would take a lot of time. Yeah, so he's nine. He signed for
So
9.5.
sorry, Dobson's 9.
And then his previous cap hit was $4 million for 3 seasons.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. I was looking up. I was like, it says 9.5, and I guess it's 9.5 is the new contract. So then I don't know. You're still like, that's a lot of dough. But he's shown he's got a big shot, and he can put up 50 points and 17 goals. Like that's pretty useful. I don't think you're going to get a big shot out of Lane Hudson. Like, he's got a muffin, right? He's doing other things. He's using his craftiness to create opportunity, and he's definitely a play driver. And that's so. Then you go back and you go, okay, are you 8-7 for Cider right now? I think it's like 8-7,
5-6 or something.
Because I guess Larkin then is 8-7. So he's slicing hairs here, man. This is going to put some inflationary pressure, because you go, can I get Evanson for less than 8? It all depends.
So that's a good question to ask too, Michael, to that regard and what you just mentioned. When will we start to see where Steve Yzerman is paying players more than what Dylan Larkin makes, or even someone like Moritz Seider?
It's like, if you have to really show you're better than Simon or Lucas Raymond and Moritz Seider, right? So that's what he's kind of using as his cap, and Dylan Larkin. But there's a talent issue there, right? Like, how do you get better if you don't? So it's very tricky. So he's just trying to let it percolate, but you got to make the playoffs here at some point. Like, I don't see this going much farther. If you don't make the playoffs, then this is, all moot. And then someone comes in like a Don Waddell and fixes everything.
So let's then ask the question, based on what this roster looks like, and this is what Puckpedia, and then also I believe it's Daily Faceoff has as their opening night roster set up for the Detroit Red Wings, starting from left to right, from first line down. It's Riemsdyk, Larkin, Raymond, DeBrincat, Casper, Kane, Kopp, Comfort, Appleton, Soderblom, Rasmussen, Berggren. That forward end, we won't touch on the defense. We already know what the defense is and the goaltending. But based on all of that, Michael, is this a playoff team going into the season?
Feels like it's not.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, your gut says no.
I'm with you there all day.
I just don't see it.
And then you look at some of the other teams and what they did. We just talked about Noah Dobson with Montreal.
Yeah.
The Ottawa Senators, they added Dylan Cozens at the trade deadline last season. They got a little bit better up front. And then there's obviously always the Florida Panthers, the Tampa Bays, and then the other teams within our division as well.
Toronto.
I'm not speaking for Carlo, but he already said it. I would agree that I don't believe that this team would be a playoff team. A lot has to go right for this team, but also a lot of things have to go wrong for all the other teams within our division as well, right? But just a follow-up question to that, we haven't talked about this player. Where does Carter Mazur fit in this lineup? And if there was someone that you could insert him in for and remove from this current lineup, who would that be, Michael? Anyone?
I don't see room. Like, he's going to have, I don't know whose job he steals. And we're not even talking about Antilio Lombardi, like at some point, what is he? You got to give these guys some reps. Kosa, like, you don't even have Kosa in this mix. Like, you've got to get him at least 7 or 8 games this year. So I don't know. You look at, again, Jet Greaves. Jet Greaves has got 21 NHL games and we don't even know about it, right? And he just had a heater.
Yeah,
you need
really
to
good
get,
numbers.
And you need to get Kosa in there and see if he can do it. So I don't know. It does not feel like a playoff team right now. They're not blowing your mind.
Well, you got to think too, like the point ceiling, I think in the Atlantic, the East, let's call it the East, the point break to get into the playoffs has been increased with how many teams got better around us.
96, 90, you think probably?
It's all I was saying, like, I said between 94 and 97. That was like my range.
Got to be a range. And that would be, I feel, a stretch for this group.
Yeah.
So what you're really hoping is that Gibson goes in and steals the net. And just says, hey,
for like 45 games.
Which is scary because you really need him to get 60. Because if you're saying 45 for him, you're saying 37 for Cam Talbot.
Yeah.
And maybe that's okay. The ideal, I think, again, you're a platoon situation in all of these lines. It's crazy. Like you're going to go based upon injury history and workload. Can you get 45 games out of Gibby? Can you get 34? You can get 34 out of Talbot, and he fluctuates in what he is, but I think that's a good number for him. And you got to start working in Kosa at some point here, or Kosa's a bust, right? Like if Kosa's not in the NHL pretty soon, you go, okay, We got to get him reps in the NHL. And I think they're conscious of that.
The way the goalie situation's kind of lined up, I mean, like Talbs is done after this season, and then Gibby's got one left. So I don't like, is that the plan? Gibby goes into next season with Kosa. You got to get Kosa in, right? I'm with you, man. Like
they got to start working him in, and they probably will. They'll probably work him in. I think I would have thought they would have got him 5 to 7 games last year, and then get him 10 to 15 this year. That would have been great. So I think your hope is Gibson goes in, has a heater of a start with him and Talbot. That proves to be a really tough duo to beat, and they get their first 10 games, maybe they're 7-3. If that's what happens, then they got a chance. Then the rest of the year gets a lot tougher. And I think that's what you'll see. I'll use the example of Anaheim. Joel Quenneville tends to get his teams out of the gate fast. So that's the model, where maybe they're not crushing teams later in the year, but they get a fast start. And I think that's what Detroit's got to do. Detroit's got to come out like 7-3 and then, figure out how to improve after that. And then you figure out, can I get a player that comes in, is another 30-goal guy? That's what they need
to take us over.
So then your top line is 90, your second line 75, and then you get that 45 on the third line. Somehow they need to do that. That's where they got to get to. And then that makes them top, 15 in the league with 30. How many teams do we have now? 32?
32.
That's still bubble.
I know.
Now, Michael, I got a couple questions for you here. Based on what Steve Yzerman has done in this roster, and pretty much the last, you could say, 3 seasons of this roster, is that he has wanted to keep it competitive for a wild card spot. For the past 3 years, he's done that, right? And I think that's a job accomplished. You're competing for a wild card spot. Have you made it to the wild card spot? No, unfortunately, you haven't yet. However, the way I look at it as you keep on bringing up how we need to see some of these younger guys, and we haven't quite gone there yet. And Steve Yzerman keeps on inserting these quote unquote plug players to kind of fill those holes for the time being. Is Steve Yzerman just kind of low key hoping that there's any injuries?
It still screams bubble. So he's hoping these young guys percolate up, and he's thinking, I want a 10-year run. But does it take 8 years to get there? That's what you worry about. So I think that's one mentality. The other mentality is burn the boats and be in first. And I think if you're serious about competing for a championship, you're burning the boats and you're going to be in first. Look at the moves that a Vegas makes. Look at what Montreal has done in the exact same amount of time.
Yep. Montreal just burned the boats.
But they have Demidov, they have Hudson, they have Caulfield, they have Suzuki. And you can draw parallels, I think, to parts that Detroit has. They're just a little bit more aggressive, right? They ate it, and then make that punch. And you go, look at Ottawa.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they've lost ground against those guys, but they've got to punch through. And those teams have got to percolate up to the top. Otherwise, you're Buffalo all the time.
Exactly. So here's my hot question that I wanted to ask as well. Because of that, of all these plug players that he keeps on bringing in, and the fact that these last 3 seasons, we haven't really seen too many serious injuries, especially with the plug players or even with our better players like Simon Edvinsson. He hasn't missed a single NHL game. Lucas Raymond, we've only missed him for a handful of games. Dylan Larkin, same thing, right? He's only gone missing for a streak of maybe 10 games. And, we see what happens to this team. But
wheels fall off.
Do you think maybe that's partial of it too, that Steve Yzerman thought that there was going to be opportunities where these players get injured and then we get these young players to move up while still also potentially being able to garner another top 5 pick in the draft? Not trying to tinfoil hat it, but is that a scenario that you could see happen with him?
I didn't realize Larkin played all 82 last year. I guess it was the year before that he missed time.
Yeah, because he had that 10-game injury when he got KO'd against Ottawa.
Yeah, that's right. And then the family stuff, I think he had some challenges there with the baby. Man, I don't know. I think you just someone's gonna walk into the situation and go, screw it, I'm gonna smash the paradigm. My standard is here. I'm gonna make the move. I'm 1 or 2 moves away. And I think that he has put himself in that position. You got to pull the trigger on something, and I just don't know what that is. And maybe it is you sacrifice your young a little bit and you get someone that's like disgruntled. you know,
He's got to
someone
get
that,
a home run. He needs a home run.
and maybe this is the time. Like maybe that's what he's been building towards. Because you know, we go back to that other discussion of like, could you have got, what was the piece that I was thinking of?
I mean, you could have gone out and gotten a JJ Peterka.
That's what I was going to say. So could you? What would you have to give up? Because you don't have a Kesserling. So that, you know, that's the issue, right? Like who's your Kesserling?
Yeah, exactly.
Would be
Who's the
Simon
desirable asset?
Like Kesserling is legit. Like if you watch him, he's got some offensive skills. He's legitimately a top 4 defenseman. He's 6'6", 6'7". So there's a lot of parallels to Simon Edvinsson.
Does that make you better or worse?
Right?
There you go.
You know, and then I think you look at Utah's lineup and they could afford to move him. They've got a Maverick Lamoureux, although I don't think he's going to be as good as Kesserling necessarily, but they go, I got Simashev, right? Simashev is going to be that. He's going to be the same as Kesserling, which is great, you know, like, so they go, okay, we got pieces here. But I just don't see that in Detroit still. I don't think anybody's salivating over Tuomisto or salivating over Shai Buyam or William Wallander, right? So that's kind of the challenge. What would you have to give up a Nate Danielson to get Peterka? And then if Nate Danielson ends up being Mason McTavish in a year,
that burns. That burns. The other part too here, guys, is what if Steve is, because Zach, I mean, you mentioned like, is Steve, basically your question was like, is Steve banking on injuries to work the players in? I don't think you're ever banking on injuries.
I'm not trying to tinfoil hat it, but behind your mind, right? Because these past 3 seasons, you look at it, and he has brought it up like, hey, like I would have liked to have brought up these young players, but we didn't have the injuries to be able to bring him up.
They were pretty healthy, actually.
Yeah. He's banking on, what if he's banking on this team taking steps and being a team that's right in that mix comfortably come trade deadline and finally being a buyer at the trade deadline?
I don't know.
You don't think they can hang and be in that mix?
I think the shine comes off of your prospects as they age, right? So I think tough call, you know, like, I don't know. I think you got to be a lot more aggressive soon.
Yeah.
It's time. You have to pull the trigger and roll the dice on a few things, and they're just still missing that.
I would like to think if the Red Wings are going to, if there's another move to be made by the Wings, I would like to think it's going to happen in the next month so that they're coming out of the gate strong. Like you talked about earlier, Michael, like the way Quenneville kind of runs it with his teams is you're coming out of the gate strong. If there's a move to be made, please be in the next 30 days so that we can come out of the gate strong with a solidified top 6. And otherwise we're hoping and dreaming for trade deadline or something to happen after the season started. Let's just get this done. Like if you're talking about pulling the trigger, you're talking about coming out of the gates strong. Let's go. Let's figure it out. Figure out how we can do it.
Which is always easier said than done, obviously. But I think I'm looking at the bodies and you're like, well, who is going to move?
Well, and then you look at the extras. We mentioned it's Carter Mazur, it's Justin Hall, and then it's also Austin Watson. And so that's why I asked the question, would it be most likely that we see it happen, you know, before the season starts, or would it be the middle of the season? But to back up Carlos' claim, I think it would come closer to training camp, and someone like Nate Danielson and Carter Mazur has to push someone out to force that trade in order to go out and potentially get someone better. But who knows?
I think they're just counting that Casper doesn't regress. You know, they'll start working in Nate, and then, but it's just so analog, right? It's sequential.
You're working in Nate, dude. This team's not making playoffs for 2 years.
So then you go, okay, who do you get? Like Reichel? Does Rickard Reichel move this needle or not? Raquel, sorry. He had 35 goals last year. Does a Jordan Kyrou who had 36 goals, are you going to get him? And those are the guys that are most likely.
Those are wingers, right?
They're both wingers. So one's a right shot. I think Reichel's a left. Raquel, is he a lefty? He's a right shot
right.
too. He is also right. So then, I mean, which I don't know if you worry too much about that. You could always just do it. But those are the guys that you go, well, this guy can get 35 goals. That's what we need. You know, Peterka was perfect. He was like a left. Yeah. But again, left shot, right winger. You could put him on the left side potentially. Obviously, 68 points in 77 games. That's what they need somehow to figure this out. Like, and even that, like, is that enough? if a Nazem Kadri moves, do you bite the bullet on that? Like, that's such a short-term thing. He's 34.
What about this Igor Chinakhov in Columbus, who's apparently requested a trade? Anything there? I don't know.
I mean, why can't he crack it in Columbus? Opportunity was there up until last year. You know, you look at all those teams, you go, man, they've kind of like, I don't want to say it, but they've kind of gone over the rings with their lineup, you know, the quality, the ceiling of players and the talent and the production and everything. Like, got a really good, you know, the coaching situation's really worked out there. So I don't know. It's tough, man. You compare the Wings to those teams and you're like envious. Definitely a little envious. If you get an Alex Tuch, does that solve it?
I feel like that's
Danielson for an Alex Tuch?
No, I wouldn't.
Really?
I don't think I would.
You wouldn't trade Nate Danielson for Alex Tuch?
How old's Alex Tuch?
He's 28.
I don't think I'd do it.
Really? But he's like a 35 goal scorer and he's 6'5", 6'4".
So Danielson's what, 20 years old?
21.
21?
He's a 2004, I think.
Okay. Tuch's 29. I think I'm betting more on Danielson filling out and being a little bit better of a player for the team when he's 25.
Is he ever going to get 36 goals? He's had 2 36-goal seasons, and he's a plus player. And he's like,
good. I do like Alex Tuch. This is no shade at him, but I don't know. If I'm trading Danielson, I'm looking at Mason McTavish, dude.
All right, Michael. Well, I got a question for you. Here's a hot one. So we did most recently a Deal or No Deal episode where the Buffalo Sabres fan base was chirping at Dylan Larkin and general manager Steve Yzerman, saying that they're at a standstill, blah, 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 and that the Buffalo Sabres should absolutely trade for him. What would you want in a return for a Dylan Larkin? And let's say it's from the Buffalo Sabres. Who would you expect in return? Would you do something like Dylan Larkin for Tage Thompson straight up, 1-for-1? Would you do it for Rasmus Downey? What would you think it would take for Buffalo to get a Dylan Larkin?
That's so hard.
I mean, it's your captain, it's your best player.
He's got a no move clause, so this is strictly for fun. We know he's got a no move clause, folks.
Yeah,
just throwing that disclaimer.
First of all, it ain't gonna happen. I don't see it happening.
Correct.
We're having fun in the offseason. Leave us alone.
The only way this happens is if you get a young guy that you think is going to pop through. I don't think you're going to, you know, do you move him for Tage Thompson? They're not going to move Tage Thompson unless he's disgruntled, which he might be.
I feel like the entire team is
a dangerous, tough move, right? If you're moving a Larkin, you're trying to get a McTavish and some other piece. That's the type of deal you want. So to Buffalo, I don't know. That's a tough call. Like, you're not going to get you don't want any of the D.
Maybe like Zach Benson.
That's not enough, though, is it?
No,
you would add on top of that 100%. But you would not do Dylan Larkin for Tage Thompson straight up. You would not do that.
I mean, Tage has got more goal scoring capability. He's just a weird profile. He's like 6 foot.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
6'6". On skates, he's probably up there. Yeah,
he's just a weird profile, but he's such a dynamic, capable player for sure.
Yeah.
But does that push Detroit anywhere? I don't know. You'd have to really go like, hey, I just want that versus, you know, speedy Larkin, right? Like,
I think I'd rather Larks. I personally
feel
would
like
if
you were going to make a move for JJ Peterka and Bo Byram, then you say, here's Larkin, give me Byram, and here's another piece.
There you go.
That's where you really roll the dice that, hey, I'm going to be better with Byram and Peterka than I am my number one center. Not really.
Grain of salt.
We've seen this team
big,
without
small
Larkin.
grain of salt.
But, you know, you could say if they had, you got to go Thompson. And actually, here's another name is Kulik. So if you get Kulik and another piece, so this is where you go, okay, I believe Yuri Kulik is going to be a 30-goal scorer in the NHL. I know JJ Peterka is. That's when you would have done it. You would have gone Larkin for Kulik and Peterka. And that's a real risk. However, if you watch Kulik, you go, okay, if I'm projecting Kasper and Kulik as my 1-2, maybe I take a small step back or maybe I don't. Because Kulik can really put the puck in the net. Like I think he's a real good number 2 centerman. And I think you saw last year that he was able to produce at the NHL level. He crushed the AHL. And then you already know what Peterka can do. So then you go, well, I'm going to get 60 goals for 30. And that's what you do. is
Yeah.
right? And then Buffalo goes, I don't care because I've got Larkin and Thompson as 1-2, and I'm going to leapfrog Detroit. It's a super risky move, but I think that's what you project as you go, Kulik's ready to pop. If I give him the opportunity to be second line center, I'm going to make Casper one. Maybe they fluctuate back and forth. I still got Comfer. I still got Cobb. That's what you roll the dice on, and I'm going to free up cap. That's going to get chewed up. I think I'm going to get 60 goals, and they're going to get 30. Right? They're going to get 30 in Larkin, and I'm going to get 30 and 30, or I'm going to get 25 and 25, whatever that number is. And that's where you roll the dice and you hope your team's better. But you're ripping your captain out. I think Seider would be a great captain.
Me too.
And maybe that's what you do. Because I think that's where you look at Kulik, and I think he's ready to pop. I think he's ready. He's going to at least get 20 goals this year. Maybe he's a 30-goal guy. Like, he has a lot of ability. And then you bank your whole career on that move. It's like, wow, sure hope this works out.
Yeah. Otherwise, what do we do?
2 more questions, Michael. What do you think needs help the most looking at it now and into the future? Is it the forwards or is it the defense group?
Long term, you've got to be pretty happy with the D. Like, if you project, you work in ASP over the next like 12, 18 months. So you go Edmondson, Seider, ASP as your top 3. You kind of got Johansson as a 5-4. The D's not.
So that's 4 of your 6.
He's not
that's 4 of your 6.
And you hope like someone like Wallander, Bouillon / Tuomisto does some damage. And then you're able to move out where it's like Sherrod, right? We don't have to deal with Jeff Petrie anymore. That's amazing. Hall's not going to kill you. You'll be fine as long as he doesn't play the wrong minutes, right?
Yeah, like against Cole Caulfield when he gets beat. Like, I'll never let that go.
That's so funny.
I'll never let that go.
Yeah. So then you go, they still don't really have a number 1 center, like they don't have a top end center. Like,
true bona fide Austin Matthews, Connor McDavid center.
Or even look at New Jersey. Like, you've got Heeshire and Hughes 1-2. Like, how do you compete with that? Now, the issue is with Hughes is not durable. Like, he's missed like 40 games the last 2 years. So that's,
and he's a small guy too. He's
small, right? But super skilled, like another level, right? Heeshire's had injury problems too, even. But still, like, how do you line up against that? You don't. I mean, maybe Larkin can keep in that mix, and he's probably more reliable. So ideally, they need Casper to show he can be a 70-point guy. If that happens, then this whole thing changes.
Yeah, I agree.
I lied. I do have one more question and then another question. Do you believe that there is opportunity for Lucas Raymond to hit 90+ points this season?
Oh my God, of course. I think he's right there. I think this, the trick is...
Give him a top-line winger to play with.
For center.
Well, I think if Larkin and Raymond are the duo, and you put a guy who's truly, like Zach said it, a bona fide top-line guy to take a little bit of the spotlight off of Ray, or a lot of the workload off of Ray, you're going to see a sneaky Lucas Raymond. I think he gets 90 points for sure, but he's got to play with a complete line. You put Casper up there.
Outside of that right now, because we don't have that,
how's he going to get 60 assists, right? Like, what you're projecting at that point is 30 goals, 60 assists. Where are the 60 assists coming from? That means you need at least 60 goals on the other 2 lines. Larkin's part of that, so you're right. If you have a winger that's 30, but ideally, that's tricky. That's definitely tricky because he's running from one side of the ice for the most part. So it's I don't know.
Deceptive passing Lucas Raymond.
You need a 40 center. But he could still probably do it. Or you need the defense to pick up the offense more, and he'll get the extra points. Like, that's the difference between where he's at now and that. The progression's been really good. He's their best player. That's just what it is. Is that good enough? I don't know. He needs someone on that line to really pop through. So then you think of, let's imagine the world where you go, you know what? I moved Dylan Larkin. He really wants to go to Buffalo. And I got Peterka. And my top line is now Casper, Peterka, and Raymond. But that's 30-30. It's at least 30-30, right? And then what does Casper get? Can Casper be a 25-30? You got to say, yeah, maybe, right? With the extra time.
You got to be willing to put a lot of money on it for sure.
So then you go, Worst case, he's 20. That's 80 goals. That's better than now.
Yeah, a little bit.
And then you've got Kulik on the second line playing with DeBrincat and Kane. Kulik had what, 15 goals last year as a rookie? Does that sound right?
I think I just saw it 15 or 17, was it? I was just looking him up. He looks pretty solid. Pretty decent size.
Goals. Yeah, 15 goals in 62 games. And he started in the AHL, which, I mean, he was just wrecking the AHL. He had 27 goals in 57 games the year before, 24 goals in 62 games the year before in the AHL. So he's done his AHL time. So you go, okay, so let's call him 20 goals, and you get 20, 30. So yeah, there's your magic math, right? You're at least 80 and 70. There's 150. Is that a playoff team?
They would be.
It might be closer.
Closer. Damn.
Speaking of playoffs, Michael, this will be our final question. And I asked this to Carlo, too, is that if Steve Yzerman and the Detroit Red Wings don't make the playoffs this season, is that the end of his tenure, or do you give him the 10 years like Carlo mentioned?
You can't give him.
You think he's done if they don't do it this year?
I think he's done. I can't imagine how do you give him more time?
I think it's a 10-year deal.
What?
The outlook that I would project it, Michael, is that we see what he did for Tampa, and then he got let go, or he left, however you want to say it, and then everyone started looking back, saying once they won the cup, oh, Steve Yzerman's fingerprints are all over that. So then a lot of fans, I want to project to them and say, if we were to move on from Steve Yzerman now, and in 3 to 5 years, all these prospects that he drafted came out to being 50 to 80 point guys, do we then say, wow, we look really stupid for letting Yzerman go?
Not if you make the playoffs. Not if you're a contender. Like you say, the one thing led to the other, right? You go back to the Carolina example. Carolina can never make the playoffs. New owner comes in. He goes, we're making the playoffs every year. Rod Brindamore, you're the coach. And Don Waddell, you're the GM. And I think maybe Rick Dudley was in that mix, right? Few little pieces, and it's a changed scenario. Do you say, oh, look at Ron Francis? We made a mistake letting Ron Francis go. What's Ron Francis done in Seattle? Same thing, right?
Fired.
You're never going to make the damn playoffs.
We need a guy to pull the trigger. Stevie, pull the trigger.
So I don't know. I think at some point, and I feel like maybe I'm wrong. I don't know the depth. I mean, obviously the depth of the relationship's there, but I think you go
step up into a higher position and let somebody else.
Who?
I don't know who comes in. I have no idea.
They've got like group where they've kind of bubbled guys up and built an infrastructure there. But man, I don't know. Like, how do you continue to look at this and go, how is this acceptable for the Red Wings?
Exactly.
You got the best arena. You got like super loyal fans. You've got a history. You got to, something more aggressive's got to happen. You got to make the playoffs, and not just make the playoffs. Like, you got to start contending for stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you see too many teams leapfrogging, and you go, okay, we got to do something else. Maybe I'm wrong.
The counter argument that I would have to this too would be the fact that, I mean, it's the Ilitches, right? They are the ones who come up with the decision making. And you look at what the Tigers have done. You could look at the other sports franchises here in Detroit too. They never went out and sacrificed their future picks, prospects, or any of that to get better, and they did it all internally.
Yeah.
So, does Ilitch want the Red Wings to do the exact same thing? So far, that seems to be true, but how much longer, to your point, does Chris Ilitch allow that to happen? Carlo, I actually want you to answer this real quick. What are your overall thoughts? I know that you said before you would give him one more season, 10 years total, but your thoughts on that?
I would give him 10 years, and I'll tell you why. I do think, this is what I said. Let's give Michael the full context. I think that in this, not this coming season, next year, so 26-27 season, I think they take a huge leap. I think the team takes a massive leap. I think the UFA crop of next summer is going to help them do that, given that they hit on something, because it's a great crop. You plug in a couple of those pieces, that Carolina effect, call it, they take that big leap. And I think Stevie Y is going to be fine. But you talked about Ilitch and just all these teams kind of taking steps internally. The chances of that happening for all of your teams, and I'm talking like with the Ilitches right now, like it happened with the Tigers. The likelihood of that happening with the Red Wings, I just think it's low. Like, I think you bet on a horse that won with the Tigers. Like, look what they're doing. They're moneyballing it, and they're seeing the success of it. I don't see that happening again. Like, that's the amount of fortune that you need to have for that to happen again. I don't think it's there. I think a trigger needs to be pulled in Detroit. I think if it's not this year, it's definitely going to be next offseason, because the UFA crop's better. Now, we don't have to get into whether or not these players are actually going to leave or if they're going to re-sign. Like, we don't know.
I'd be shocked, because if you're moving it from 8 to 7 years and then 6 in UFA, is that what's changed? You're staying. Or you're going to see more sign and trades, maybe.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Something's got to pop here. You might be right. Like, maybe they say, oh, it's okay.
Well, not so sad like that, maybe, hopefully, but
Doing like, at some point you've got to say, listen, our standard is first. Where are we? We're 15th or 17th. That's not acceptable. Who are we bringing in to get us to first?
I just think when they had the conversation in 2019, when Stevie Y came back, I think Stevie Y said this is a 10-year project, because I have to come in and deconstruct. I would imagine he laid it out. If he laid it out for anybody, he laid it out for the Illiches. He came in and he deconstructed for what, 3 years?
Oh, for sure. There was
2-3 years. I'm talking like a total breakdown. And that is time, guys. Like, that adds time to this. So it sucks, man. But who else? Honestly, who else takes on that project other than Stevie Y? Who else is taking that project on?
If Kopitar retires, well, anybody, you'll stay in a GM role if they pay you and you get that opportunity. Like, if someone says, oh, you got 10 years to build a team, okay, sure, I could do that. Just keep.
No, I don't think they gave him the time. I think Steve gave them.
Their guys are turning out, right? So that's good, But man, oh man, at some point here, you got to be aggressive and figure something out. I don't know. Like, there's been teams making moves, like Noah Dobson to Montreal is a move.
Yeah, Montreal's swinging. Like, they're swinging, and they're nerve-wracking especially for the Wings.
What did Montreal have that Detroit didn't? Larkin is Suzuki. Caulfield is DeBrincat. Like, let's go down the line. They don't have a cider. Who's their Simon Edmondson?
Pulling the trigger.
Like, there's some. Now, they don't have a Demidov. Maybe they do. And Buch,
yeah,
you don't know.
That's true.
They've got an ASP Hudson equivalent there. Doesn't mean he's going to get the same. I don't know if he'll get the same numbers, but you got to project that and push that. I mean, they've got stuff that Montreal doesn't. I don't know. It's like they don't have Slav. Okay, great. Has that been a difference maker? I don't know. That's a great question. But that's what you're comparing it to, because they've at least made the playoffs. And then now they got a Noah Dobson in the mix, right? So it's got to be something similar. Something's got to pop. They have to get a difference maker in there. Like, it just can't not. Like, this is crazy. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's a tough time. It's a weird time for the Detroit Red Wings and their fan base, right? A lot of fans, they don't want to end up becoming the Minnesota Wild. It seems like we're kind of in that realm of territory right now. But to Carlos' point, looking at the cap space that is projected for us next season, it's going to be slightly over, I believe, $44 million. So to Carlos' point, that's when you can go out and get the big name free agents and someone potentially like a Kyle Connor who might have interest in coming back to his hometown in Michigan, right? And that's the hope, right? But maybe Connor McDavid, do you want to become a Detroit Red Wing?
Never
Come on over, buddy. We could definitely utilize you for sure.
Well, I'm excited to play with Lucas Raymond, maybe. I got dry.
Right, and that's part of it too. We mentioned that. It's like, I said this on the radio. When was the last time we heard of a big name star in any major sport saying, oh, look at how close this team is to just making the playoffs. I think I should go over there and play with them. I haven't seen that in ever. I don't think I've ever seen that.
No, they've got to look at Washington even. Like, Washington's kind of leapfrogged, they lost Backstrom. Yeah. They've managed to pluck out talent from other organizations that have done really well, and then they have their own young guys coming through, like McMichael and Protas Leonard. And the other Protas. Like, that's crazy. And then they still got Cristal and Hudson.
Love and all these pieces.
Like,
oh, boy,
I'm like 50-50 on how that translates to the NHL. He's crushed the WHL. Like,
dude, he's sick. For the league he's playing in, he's sick.
Yeah, he's been great. So, but yeah, overall, like Charlie Lindgren and like all these pieces, like they've been really savvy about stuff. Like getting Chychrun in retrospect should have been obvious to people. Like, this guy can get 15, 20 goals as a defenseman. He's a top three. Like, they've been really, really savvy about stuff. People don't even talk about John Carlson. And
underrated.
He's like way down there. Like, well, is he? I don't know. Rasmus Sandy. So I don't know. I feel like they need to do something that brings in pieces that pushes this over the top.
Enough waiting for this perfect storm to show up.
The perfect time is now. I used to work for Rogers in Canada, right? And Ted Rogers always would say, the most important quarter is the third. The most important quarter is the fourth quarter. The most important quarter is the first quarter.
Yeah. The quarter we're in is the most important.
Important.
Yeah.
And I think now's the time to punch through.
I couldn't agree more.
I agree as well. Yeah. I think this is a good stopping point to wrap up this episode. We touched on a lot that has gone on in the NHL within the Detroit Red Wings overall as well. And so big claps to Michael for joining us once again on this episode. Moving forward, we will be having him on at least once a month. He is going to be an honorary member of the Hockeytown Rundown podcast. Michael, you're going to have to send us your address so that way we can send you some merchandise so you can wear around and showcase
swag yo.
And so, Michael, for the folks at home, if they don't know where to find you, go ahead and lay it out. Where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at pucksanddreams_, because I can't seem to still get into the other one. But yeah, it doesn't matter. Everybody's there. So yeah, Pucks and Dreams, that's where I am.
All right. Well, awesome. Michael, it was a pleasure having you on once again. We cannot wait for the next one to have you on. Who knows? Maybe it's a big trade and we absolutely have to have you on tomorrow. Hopefully it happens tonight. There's a big trade or something and we have to redo this whole entire episode.
We already bring Alex Tuck to Detroit.
There we go. We laid it all out. We laid it all out.
He's still on that. All right, boys and girls, let's go ahead and wrap it up on this brand new episode of Hockeytown Rundown. If you are viewing or listening to us on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, hit that notification bell. If you haven't already, Spotify and Apple Podcasts, rate us to 5 stars, hit that follow button. Follow us on all of our social media platforms as well, the TikToks, the X's, the Twitters, the Instagrams, the Facebooks, the Threads, all of them. And then until next time, we'll see y'all on the next one. See ya.
Later.
We love you. Goodbye.